Hello, everyone. Ria here. I just wanted to say a quick thank you for listening to the Fearfully and Wonderfully Me podcast. I'm very excited about this episode that you're just about to hear on the power of a morning routine. I share with you my morning routine and talk about how you can incorporate this into your own life. But another reason I'm very excited is this is the 100th episode of Fearfully and Wonderfully Me. This podcast has just grown, and it's been an incredible journey over the past year and a half. This podcast is being listened to in countries all around the world, and so it's exciting to see how many people are interested in taking their life and their leadership to the next level. So I wanted to say a quick thanks for listening. And, if you're enjoying this podcast, share it with somebody, tell somebody else about it. Because, if you're finding value in the content, there are others who would appreciate learning and growing, and that gives you someone to grow with together. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fearfully and Wonderfully Me, a podcast designed to help you increase your influence, develop your leadership, and maximize your results. Today, I'm talking about the power of a morning routine. And I get a little excited, or maybe I get a lot excited about this topic because I think this really fits into living with intention, being on purpose. But I really think that this is the key foundational thing that helps us achieve more in our day and therefore more in our week and more in our month and more in our year, more in our lifetime, right? Starting out our day with intentional choices, thoughts, and planning. It's one of the most powerful characteristics that every highly effective and very successful achiever has, is the ability to focus on the most important priorities of the moment and the hour and the day. Because distraction is the enemy of success. And in today's world, it is so easy to get distracted. I know for a long time, I had to turn off all the notifications on any social media on my phone, because what would happen is I would see that little red notification button pop up, and I'd immediately have to feel compelled, like I was almost compelled to go see what somebody was saying or sharing a post or commenting. But that then led to checking other social media, and then let me check my emails, and then maybe I'll check the weather. And before you know it, it's 20 minutes have gone by, and I really haven't accomplished anything. Distraction is the enemy of success. And that what most highly effective people have is a very intentional morning routine that helps them eliminate some distractions. It helps them be more focused on the important priorities of their life. Now, unfortunately, most of us don't spend even a few minutes of the day thinking about how to get the most out of the day ahead of us. It's pretty common to just wake up and to rush into the day without any thought. You're already behind. Maybe you hit the snooze button, and then somehow we wonder why we didn't accomplish what we wanted to. Maybe you have goals that you set last January. Here we are in December of 2019. And maybe some of those goals that you set last January weren't ever achieved this year. And you just recently thought, well, those sound pretty good. Maybe I'll use those again for 2020. It's almost a cycle that we get into by default, and we don't mean to, right? It just happens. I've certainly been there where, you work long hours, and so it's difficult to add one more thing into your day, and certainly getting up earlier to add a morning routine in doesn't sound attractive for most people, but it is so incredibly powerful when we just start our day with a few minutes of intentional thought and planning. Watch how your productivity increases when you start this. Why? It's a habit that sets you up for success every single day, because there are habits, and then there are keystone habits, which is what Charles Duhigg calls the habits that, when we create them, they help everything else in our life improve. Exercise is one of these, for example. When you exercise regularly, even a few times a week, you don't even have to do it every day. When you exercise regularly, you feel better, you eat better, you make better choices, you think better, you sleep better. Exercise is a keystone habit. So when we create a habit of intentional exercise, everything else in our life improves. So an intentional morning routine is also a keystone habit because you'll have just a few minutes early in your day to set your priorities. You'll accomplish more. You'll be more intentional with your health, relationships. You'll be more productive with your thinking and planning. Stephen Covey says, anything less than a conscious commitment to the important is an unconscious commitment to the unimportant. And I know it's easy to kind of get into a default, jump out of bed, rush through the shower, rush to work. Maybe you didn't even take time to eat breakfast. And so it seems like a struggle to add something. But it is so critical if we want to leverage the power of living with intention, because we want to be more successful. We all have goals and dreams and priorities. And when we can create a keystone habit that helps us be more effective in those priorities, then everything else in our life gets better. And I've mentioned this on an earlier podcast. I've had just a very simple but very intentional morning routine for a long time now. First few minutes of my day, usually, I spend in that, setting my priorities in each dimension of life, right? Physically, mentally, priorities that I'm working on, a commitment to being healthier. And I don't have to spend a long time on it, but I find I get more done throughout the day when I go through this little routine. And so I for years, I just had a Word document on it. And because I couldn't find a planner or journal that really helped me. And so this year, I finally just wrote and published and released a series of journals. I call them my motivational planning journals because I needed a tool to help me be more intentional with my morning. I needed a tool that didn't take long. It reminded me to practice gratitude. It helped me consider priorities. And I knew that if other people would find this effective because I was finding it so effective. So each of the journals in the series have a different theme and different motivational quotes for the day. Now, you can head over to Amazon or even my website and order one, it makes a great gift for somebody. But here's the deal. You don't have to buy one of these to go through an intentional morning routine. You don't even have to spend any money. Pick up any notebook you've got laying around, and I'm going to give you my morning routine, and you can do this at home. You don't need a fancy notebook or a motivational planning journal. It's nice to have one because then you can collect it and keep it everywhere you go, refer to it back during the day. But a regular notebook from Walmart or Target will work. So here's what I do in my morning routine. Number one, I start by writing down something that I am grateful for. Write down something you are grateful for. Large, small, it doesn't have to be a big something to be grateful. It's just important that you spend a few seconds here creating a positive mindset around gratitude. It might be, man, I am grateful for this hot cup of coffee. It might be, I am so grateful for warm socks. They could be little things. Or it could be, wow, I'm so grateful for the weekend time that we had with our friends and family. Just 30 seconds here. One something, write down that you are grateful for. Number two, write down a few sentences of your thoughts or reflections or even your concerns or fears. Just whatever's on your heart and mind, write it down, get it out, and then you can move on, right? It's almost like we just need to acknowledge that it's there so that we can move past it. Worries, concerns, or just reflections or thoughts or any aha moments that you've had recently. Just a few minutes here. This is wide open. This section is wide open. Just a paragraph, a couple of sentences. And you may not, some days I don't really have a lot to put there, and that's okay. Maybe it's just jotting down a quote that I've heard recently or a scripture. Number three, I write down one thing that I will do to be physically healthier that day. Just one. One day it might be committing to exercise. One day I think through, tonight I'm going to have a salad for dinner instead of yummy pizza, right? Maybe I'll commit to skipping the donuts. in the break room. Just one action that you can commit to with 100% certainty, because discipline here will help you have discipline everywhere else, but only if you keep the commitment. So how small you want to make it, to make sure that you can commit to it. Get creative here, but just one thing that you can do to be physically healthier. It might be 10-minute walk. It might be just skipping the candy bar, or skipping the Christmas desserts or the Christmas cookies. One thing, doesn't have to be big here, just the power of intentional thought and priorities for our health. Number 4, list your top 3 priorities for the day. Just 3. Now, I know if you're like me, especially when you're busy and in a busy season, you probably have a list that's a mile long. And it's easy to say, well, Rhea, I need to get all of these are priorities, really, but there are probably 1, 2, or 3 that are more important, right? If those things don't get done, nothing else matters. Those are the ones I want you to write down. Just 3. Jim Collins said, if you have more than 3 priorities, you don't have any, right? So pick the top 3. The top 3 things that you will get done. And if you get more done, that's great. But if you only get those 3 things done, write them down and then do them. Start on number 1. If it's the most important thing, then do that and don't do anything else until you've tackled that. And then last, but certainly not least, write down one way that you can add value to someone else. A random act of kindness or an intentional act of service. Plan out maybe running an errand for your spouse, or buy your team member, a coworker, a cup of coffee, or spend some time mentoring someone. Influence is built on relationships, and adding value to others increases our influence. So just, these are 5 very simple things. It's not going to take you long to go through this morning routine. I mean, I've talked about it and explained it. You could just about go through it as quickly as I've explained it on this podcast. And I've probably only been spending about 5 minutes explaining this. It's not a complicated process. It sounds so simple. And like nearly everything in life, the most powerful things are very simple to say and much more difficult to do. But when we do them, we leverage them. And then we can maximize our results. Until next time.
Start increasing your influence and maximizing your potential with Rhea's audiobooks. Available at audible.com, amazon.com, and iBooks. Please visit rheastory.com to learn about Rhea's books, resources, speaking, and training programs. Thanks for listening.